a life story about Anna, who rented accommodation from a nasty landlady Ava. The elderly woman was extremely dissatisfied with the behavior of our heroine's son. But this is just another retaliation for the refusal of relations with her unemployed Andrew. Everything was against Anna, but she coped and was helped by one strange event at the workplace. Coming to his mother at work, the son of the cleaner hid in the office of the boss. And when the kid accidentally saw what lies in the purse of the rich man's wife, "Welcome back to Tales Track. I am excited to share a new story with you. Let's get started." "Your little rascal was misbehaving all day again." The angry voice of the landlady, Ava, foretold nothing good. Anna sighed. Here we go again. Why does she always pick on Joan? He's not a troublemaker, just a normal child who needs to play and run around. But it seems his mere presence irritates the landlady. "What happened?" Anna asked resignedly, bracing herself for an unpleasant conversation. "What happened?" He ran through the garden beds again and climbed the trees. "I didn't toil in the garden just for this hooligan to destroy everything. Control that brat, or things will end badly." "Don't you dare call my son names." Anna raised her voice. "Show me what he broke, and then we'll have something to discuss. If not, there's nothing to talk about." "Oh, listen to her talking back." Ava's forehead flushed with indignation. "Don't get cheeky with me, or I'll report to Child Services that your boy is running around unsupervised, and you'll be in trouble." "How can you say such things? You know I'm raising Joan alone. Do you want to cause me more trouble?" "Alone? And whose fault is that? If you had less pride, you'd still have a husband and wouldn't fear Child Services. Look at you, acting like a martyr, expecting a prince instead of an ordinary man." "Ah, now I see," Anna thought, her breath taken by a belated realization. "So that's what this is about, Ava. You're holding a grudge because I didn't welcome your wayward son. My fate would have been to support a lazy husband and drag him out of..." Antonina's son, Andrew, had indeed shown interest in Anna when she and Joan moved into the old but spacious house belonging to his mother. However, he didn't earn her trust. He was brazen, presumptuous, and reckless. She wisely kept him at a distance, which proved to be the right decision. Word quickly got around that Andrew had a drinking problem, couldn't hold down a job, and survived on odd jobs, while Leva dreamt of marrying him off to a respectable woman, hoping it would settle him down. But Anna, scarred by her first marriage, had no intention of burdening herself with another misfortune. The grudge Ava harboured had evidently grown over time, and now, as Andrew descended into more severe behaviour, was being increasingly taken out on her innocent tenants. In their room, Anna was met by her cautious son. "Mom, I didn't break anything in the garden. I only walked along the path and sat on the thickest branch of the old apple tree. It barely produces any apples anymore." "I understand, son. If this continues, we'll have to find a new place to live. In the meantime, you know, since you're on vacation, I'll take you to work with me. They allow it as long as the children don't disturb anyone. You won't cause any trouble or make noise there, right?" "I won't," promised the boy. "I'm already afraid of staying with the landlady. You never know what she'll complain about next." The next day, John sat in the office storeroom of the trading company, drawing dragons in his notebook and curiously peeking through the slightly open door at the bustling corridor with employees moving back and forth. He desperately wanted to run around but knew he couldn't. His mother had strictly warned him not to leave the storeroom until the lunch break. When would that break come? Finally, around noon, the aroma of coffee wafted through the office, and the employees started heading out, clearly intending to grab a bite to eat. Joan's spirits lifted. Any moment now, his mother would come, and they would go to a real cafeteria for lunch. But she didn't show up. His pent-up energy and growling stomach got the better of him, and he set off to find his mother in the unfamiliar corridors with transparent doors. She was nowhere to be seen. Eventually, he came across an unusual door with frosted glass. Maybe she was in there. Hesitantly, Joan opened the door. The beautiful office, decorated with a cityscape on the wall, was empty. However, there was another door. Massive, wooden, with an ornate bronze handle. It seemed like the kind of door that would open to reveal a treasure cave if you said, "Open sesame." Forgetting all caution, Joan turned the handle and suddenly found himself inside. No treasures were there, but there was a cactus with large red flowers and a bronze figurine of a hunting dog in a pose on a side table. Drawn to the dog like a magnet, John held his breath as he examined the drooping ears, the focused expression on the animal's face, and the tense muscles under its fur. His mother's worried voice snapped him out of his reverie. Realizing he had broken all the rules, Joan startled and accidentally knocked over the folders and notebooks on the table. He frantically started picking everything up when he froze. Among the scattered items lay an open women's clutch with a photograph for. The photo showed a beautiful woman standing arm in arm with the father of Roma, a spoiled brat from school, who avoided trouble mostly because he was dropped off and picked up in a shiny black car, making it impossible to catch him behind the garages. What is this? A stern man, clearly his mother's boss, stood at the office door. Behind him was his flustered and out-of-breath mother. "Mister, I was just looking at the dog, and I accidentally knocked everything over, but I almost put it all back," John stammered, holding the incriminating photograph. "Forgive me, this is my son," Anna stammered. "I had no one to leave him with, and he went looking for me and got a little lost." He certainly did get lost. The owner of the office said gruffly as he approached John and took the photograph from his hands. "And where did this come from?" he asked, suddenly pale, staring intently at the boy. "It fell out of this purse," the boy said, trying to maintain eye contact as he lifted the unzipped clutch. "For some reason, my classmate and his father in the photo." "And my wife," the boss muttered through gritted teeth, not noticing as Anna, gasping, quietly pulled her son toward the door and hurriedly closed it behind them. James drove home in a foul mood. He needed to have an unpleasant conversation with his wife to urgently find out what that photo was doing in her forgotten clutch. Fortunately, his wife was home, and he got straight to the point. "Rimmer, care to explain who you're hugging and smiling with in this photo?" He slapped the photograph onto the coffee table. "Maybe you could start with a greeting," she replied, petulantly picking up the picture. "I'm waiting for an answer." "What is there to say? He's an old school friend. We ran into each other and decided to take a picture for old times' sake. I printed the photo for him. And what about you? Are you inspecting my handbags now? You left your purse in my office. The janitor's son accidentally knocked it over. By the way, that boy knows your friend's son. They go to the same school." James began to doubt his suspicions. "Of course, I have no right to tell you how to manage your office, but children don't belong there. Now, let's have dinner. The role of Othello doesn't suit you at all." She rose from her chair and with a dignified air headed to the kitchen. Dinner proceeded peacefully, but as soon as James went to watch the evening news, Rimmer dialed her friend. "Lena, am I interrupting? Do me a favour, will you? You work in HR, right? Could you find the address and phone number of your janitor? Some good friends of mine need a reliable person for deep cleaning, and she has an excellent reputation. Thank you, dear. You're a lifesaver." "Well, my dear, don't take it personally. Your boy knows too much and talks too much," she muttered softly, applying a cosmetic mask to her face. The next day, an elegant, fashionably dressed woman was having a cordial conversation with Ava, who was completely unprepared for such a visit. In the end, the stranger handed the landlady a white envelope stuffed with large bills, waved, and got into her car. "Well," Rimmer thought as she drove onto the highway, "now you and your mother will have to move out and most likely switch schools, where you'll have fewer opportunities to cause trouble." That evening, Anna returned from work to find Eva in a fierce mood. The demand to vacate the room immediately was categorical and final. The usually stingy landlady was even willing to return the money for the 3 remaining paid days. After barely convincing her to let them stay one more night, a thoroughly exhausted Anna began packing their belongings, with John, unsure whether to feel happy or sad, helping her. The next morning, as Anna frantically wondered where to store all their things during her workday and how to find new accommodation quickly, she was distracted by a phone call. The woman's voice on the other end was unfamiliar, but introduced herself as from the HR department. Anna, we didn't manage to inform you yesterday, but the office will be working remotely for the next 2 weeks. You're temporarily on standby and expected back in 2 weeks on Monday. You'll receive additional notification about the start of the work week. Anna shrugged. When it rains, it pours. Then again, there's always a silver lining. She'd lose money, but at least she now had time to find new accommodation. A room was found in a completely different area, in a private house owned by a kind, elderly woman who immediately allowed Joan to climb any trees he liked. The rent was very reasonable, and as Anna unpacked their things, she thought about how the saying "everything happens for a reason" often proves true in life. 2 weeks later, Anna, not having received the promised phone call, went to work, only to be met with a very unpleasant surprise. The R department informed her that she had been fired for absenteeism because she had not shown up for work for Moreover, her phone number in their records had been mysteriously changed. All attempts to explain that she had been told about remote work were in vain, and in desperation she decided to confront the boss directly. James received her rather coldly. "Anna, what is this nonsense? You are an adult. You should have called to confirm the information. It was impossible to reach you. I don't know who played this prank on you, but we've already hired someone new. What do you expect me to do? I'm sorry, but I can't help you." "You don't know." Anna gave vent to her pent-up anger. "All my troubles started after Joan found that photograph of your wife. The next day, my landlady threw us out, and I got that ridiculous call about remote work, which got me dismissed from your office. Of course, who am I to important people? But important people often indulge in vices that ordinary people don't have the time or inclination for." She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. James cursed and set his Newton's cradle swinging to calm his nerves. He fished out the needed number on his phone and, waiting for the recipient to answer, said, "Henry, I need your help with a delicate matter. This time it's personal. I need to gather some information on how a certain lady, specifically my wife, spends her free time." Anna was on her way home, barely holding back her tears. Such injustice! It seemed everyone had collectively lost their minds. Avea and her son Andrew, the director who refused to see the treachery right before him, and his wife, who would stoop to any means to cover her sordid affairs. What was she even doing in this wretched place? She needed to leave immediately. Aunt Neura's sturdy and spacious house stood empty in the village, while she struggled here in rented rooms. She needed to take Joan and go there at once. There was a school, and she was no stranger to hard work. It was a village, but not just. The house greeted them with dusty curtains at the windows, creaking floorboards, and a neatly built swallow's nest under the eaves. A neighbour popped out from behind the fence with the inevitable question. "Whose people?" "I'm Aunt Neura's niece. I've decided to settle here. I just don't know about work. I didn't think to check in advance." "If you don't work, you won't find anything," the neighbour answered authoritatively. "They just opened a new barn. You can work there. Are you afraid of cows?" "I'm not afraid of cows, but I haven't milked one in a long time, not since Aunt Neura had her star cow," Anna replied, embarrassed. "It's not difficult. If you have a way with animals, they'll teach you. Go there first thing tomorrow. Don't waste time. If you need anything, just come by," the neighbour said. Thus, Anna embarked on a new chapter in her life, hoping to finally leave her troubles behind. James also hoped for this, so much so that when Henry called with some information, he, now surrounded by Rimmer's increased attention and care, simply brushed him off. "Henry, don't be upset. It's no longer relevant. I'll transfer the fee as agreed, but there's no need to meet. Thanks, friend, you're always reliable." James was so engrossed in his unexpected honeymoon that he didn't suspect any deceit. One day, however, he came home to find Rimmer gone. She didn't return that night, and by morning he was considering calling the hospitals when she finally called. "Darling, what are you up to? If you're planning to go to the office, don't bother. According to the documents, you've transferred all your business to me, and I'll be sitting in your office today. I'll send you pictures of the documents to confirm. I'll also handle the divorce and division of property, except the business, which is already mine, so you don't have to worry about it. I hope you'll be reasonable and won't cause any scenes. My security won't let you into the office anyway. You're nobody there now." He wanted to make a scene but knew it would be counterproductive. Barely controlling himself, "James, who helped you pull off this scam? You couldn't have done it alone. Was it that old school friend you were printing photos for?" "That's irrelevant now," Rimmer retorted. "You heard what you needed to know. The rest doesn't matter. And you were too scared to tell me this in person." The betrayed husband's anger was heavy. "Afraid I'd mess up your pretty face. I should, but unfortunately, I don't hit women. I can't imagine you have any conscience left. That's too naive. But don't get too comfortable just yet. The last laugh is the best." The call ended. James, forgetting all propriety, swore loudly. Messages started coming to his phone, seeing that his wife's ability to forge his signature had played a cruel joke on him. The deceived husband threw a malachite ashtray at Rimmer's portrait, shattering the glass and frame, and reached for a bottle of whiskey from the bar. Nothing more constructive came to his desperate mind at that moment. A couple of days passed. The bar was empty and so was the fridge. Finding nothing to bolster his spirit and body, James stepped under a cold shower, letting the refreshing streams hit his aching head. Unbelievable! His life's work down the drain. Was he really going to sit and wait for things to change? Who could he turn to? Partners can't be trusted. Rimmer could have already made a deal with them. The only solution might be to call Henry. Oh, how he regretted not listening to him back then. He wouldn't have this headache now. "Henry, can you talk? It's urgent. We need to meet, but my office is no longer suitable. Please choose a place." An hour later, Henry, sitting opposite James in a small, inconspicuous cafe, was thoughtfully stirring his now cold coffee and furrowing his brow. "We need a handwriting analysis, James, not the one appointed by the court. They could bribe them, but one where we take the documents and initiate the case ourselves. Do you still have the key to the safe?" "Yes, and Rimmer doesn't know about it. It's believed there's only one key, and it's hidden in a secret compartment in my office." "That's excellent. Do you have any trusted people in your office?" "Yes, but they can't enter my office without permission. Only the cleaning lady, the system administrator, or the electrician can enter without suspicion. By the way, due to that photo incident, a very respectable woman lost her job at my company. Maybe we could try to find her and get her on board. She definitely has a grudge against Rimmer." "That's a start," Henry nodded. "We'll search for her." A few days later, Anna, returning from the farm, saw an unfamiliar foreign car near her house. It was her former boss, with an unknown young man. Not pleased with the visit, she nonetheless invited them in and listened to the dramatic story of the lost business, followed by a proposal to retrieve the documents for a generous reward. "Are you out of your mind?" she exclaimed, barely restraining the urge to kick them out. "When I ended up on the street without a job and a roof over my head, no one cared. And now you need me for such a risky task. Look for a fool somewhere else." The detective ground his teeth, and James pleaded more earnestly. "Anna, I understand how unfairly I treated you. But if you think about it, we're all victims of the same conspiracy. I lost everything because of my wife, who forged my signature. You lost your home and job because she wanted to keep you at a safe distance so nothing would suddenly disrupt her plan. Your son knew her accomplice, or rather the mastermind and organizer. Can't we join forces to expose them? How many more people could suffer from their ruthlessness? I beg you, help us. These scoundrels need to be punished." "All right," Anna replied, softening. Tell me what I need to do, and we'll see. The next day, the head of HR brought a new candidate for the cleaning job to Rimmer, who was sitting in the director's office. The woman appeared disoriented, clearly downcast, and very unsure of herself. You seem to have worked here before. Anna, Rimmer recognized her. Yes, but you see, I made a big mistake then. I didn't clarify the information about the temporary office closure, and it resulted in absences. I beg you, please take me back. I have absolutely nothing to live on and feed my son. I'll do whatever it takes, work overtime. Just take me back. The woman's eyes betrayed her with a glimmer of moisture. All right, let's not dwell on the past, Rimmer. Feeling content with the successful scam was lenient. Start your duties immediately, and remember, the office should shine like a banquet hall awaiting important guests. Anna vigorously nodded and immersed herself in work. The duplicate key tugged at the pocket of her uniform. The opportunity to enter the director's office unhindered didn't come immediately, and Anna even began to worry if the necessary documents would be there. But on the fourth day, fortunately, Rimmer brought a bunch of exotic plants, stands, bags of soil into the office, and instructed Anna to set up a green zone, transplanting some plants into new pots. She then left Anna alone in the office. Engrossed in tending to the plants, Anna waited until the secretary left for lunch and immediately began executing her former boss's task. The key clicked softly and compliantly in the lock. Anxiously, Anna began sorting through folders and soon stumbled upon the one described to her. Carefully closing the safe, she wrapped it in the empty bags from the soil and, under the guise of needing to discard them in the trash container, left the office. Henry was already waiting for her in the car. After briefly scanning the contents, he looked up at Anna with shining eyes. There's even more here than I expected. How did you think to grab these folders too? I don't know, Anna shrugged. For some reason, I felt they might be important. You're not as simple as you seem at first glance. Henry looked at Anna with genuine interest for the first time. James, the end of this matter is near, Henry reported, spreading papers on the restaurant table while waiting for the order. The forgery of your signature has been proven, and you're reinstated in the rights to the company. Moreover, during the investigation, certain manipulations in the tender for government contracts and much more were discovered. In this scenario, your former spouse, ex-spouse, and her accomplice are facing real prison terms, and you. A new financial upturn, but this time on legitimate grounds. Honestly, I thought I'd be glad for revenge, James confessed. But I was wrong. There's emptiness, a slight bitterness, and regret for human deceit and betrayal. As it turns out, the joy of vengeance is not for me. That just speaks to your integrity and uncorrupted nature, Henry ardently countered. An emptiness fills with time. You know, the type of women I sometimes encounter in my line of work. Smart, subtle, delicate. I promise. Sort out your own affairs, matchmaker. James laughed. You're cozying up to Anna like a kid, and I see it all. I even made her my assistant and sent her to study. What are you waiting for? When she's on her feet, someone else will snatch her away from you. No one will snatch her, Henry retorted fervently. I proposed to her yesterday, and well, thank goodness you've matured. James still smiled. Now that you're a matchmaker with the boots, give me a heads up if a smart and delicate one appears. And now get ready to pour some brandy. Pork ribs are already on their way.